We started in Australia, went back to Romania, in the UK, and now we are headed to Spain. And this particular one is interesting. Welcome, Laia. She's speaking to us about the success in their advocacy work with the Spanish Senate. Welcome, Laia.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good night, depending on you where you are.
Laia, can you put on the video? Yes, yes, thank you.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you for letting us talk here today. We are Federación AICE, the Spanish Cochlear Implant Federation, who represents users from all ages. Next slide, please. The past International Cochlear Implant Day, 25 of February 2021, we couldn't do on-site events with our members. Next slide. For that reason, we put our efforts to do events online, but as well, we push harder for advocacy and politician recognitions as we try every year. We contact several politicians known to us, not just from the government, but from the opposition as well, parties, to asking recognition for the Cochlear Implant Day and recognition for our specific needs as cochlear implant users and families. Next slide. To install a day is really difficult and slow, but we finally got an institutional declaration signed by our parties, by the Senate. They asked for a draft from us about what we wanted in the declaration about cochlear implants. We thought about our demands and ideas with our board. Okay. Our draft was accepted almost entirely. They published directly with their signatories on the day in question. It was registered on the official Senate Institution Bulletin. Next slide. They made social media publications and a press release which we retweeted and gave us a lot of exposure. This document does not make any changes in legislation, but allows us to raise awareness about cochlear implant in general society and especially between politicians. Next slide. This is important because it helps us when we lobby for future laws and regulations. We were invited to an appearance at a later date when they started to do more on-site meetings to explain our position and what we wanted. Federation AICE was represented by 2 persons from our board in front of the Spanish Senate, the Disability Policies Commission. Next slide. Our president, who petitioned more funding for social services, and our vice president, an adult cochlear implant users who asked for a better quality of life and explained the different and specific needs a deaf person user of cochlear implants has. Why we tried the Senate and not another institutional body? We work with the government most of the time, but in Spain, laws are done by the national government, but the regions have to carry them out on their own territories. So in the Senate is where the region's politicians are. So it's important that they interpret the law following our petitions from what we need. Next slide. We use the opportunity as well to give communicating masks to all politicians, as well we have been doing with our members, other associations related to deafness or disability, schools, hospitals, and even influencers. We have been on television for showing clear masks for good accessibility. Next slide. We need to send a message that we need accessibility in all moments of life, even in pandemic times. Next slide. If you have any questions, you can contact us to this address and we will love to share experience. It is really important we all think about how we can approach our governments about CI. Sometimes going to a different body and other institution is better than to try over and over again with others that has not worked as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Laia. Thank you, Laia. It is interesting that when you're talking about advocacy, you can't leave out the policymakers, you can't leave out the government, you can't leave out the Senate. Brian, any questions?
Yeah, Laia, how did you managed to get into government
¿Cómo
to meet all those
consiguiste
politicians?
hablar
And
con los políticos directamente?
how did you get the masks into society? How did you get people to adopt the masks, and how did you get into the Senate in the first place? How did you get them interested?
A ver, conseguí que su actividad a base de machacar y enviar emails. Anita ha sido muy clara en la manera de llegar a los políticos. Su ponencia ha sido fabulosa. La manera de llegar a esta gente es dándoles mensajes claros y sencillos y viendo lo que van a ganar. Entre ellos, convertir a una persona discapacitada en un ciudadano que paga impuestos.
I'm going to translate Joan now. He's our Spanish
Yes, please.
president. He says that, as Anita has said just a few minutes ago, it's important that we send a clear message. So we have to tell them what they can win from the exposure with us. So if we tell them that if they are wearing a mask, they are going to be accessible and they are going to be more approachable to the voters, and even if we help them to get in television with their masks and showing up how good they are, it's easier for them to get on board.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and again, I know Sue is tickling me a little. We were involved in advocating for cochlear implants. It started in 2017 by writing to the different ministries, but in 2018 in Uganda, we used the World Hearing Day for the first time to pitch camp with the Ministry of Health. And after a couple of meetings, we were able to get to the permanent secretary. Now, politicians make the decisions, but the technocrats do the decisions and the budgeting. So we were able to access the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Health. And after a couple of engagements, we walked to, of course, peaceful demonstration across the city to the parliament. And we got audience with the commissioner of medical emergencies, who actually ran. He happened to be with a disability. He uses, his leg was amputated. So he uses an artificial limb. So he was like, this is what we need. So out of engaging with people who have these needs in their own lives, we were able to seek audience, and letters were written to the tax body, and we managed to get taxes waived on all hearing devices coming into the country. And waiving taxes is almost 24% of taxes on implantable devices and hearing aids. So when you involve, and like Laia and John have said, politicians need what they can gain from this. So when you give them something they can get out of this advocacy, they will run with it. Thank you so much, in brief.